Hi and welcome to Small Group House Church for this week. Whether you're gathering in a lounge together or whether some of you are gathering online, I hope that you have a really good time talking about the renovation of your hearts. That's what we're looking at in a sermon series over the next 5 weeks, and we've got a kind of an introduction to that this week, looking at the makeup of our souls and how understanding that shapes who we become. I've got a quote here from Dallas Willard's book, The Renovation of the Heart, which we're taking a lot of material from for these next 5 weeks. And he says this: the greatest need you and I have, the greatest need of collective humanity, is the renovation of our heart. That spiritual place within us from which outlook, choices and actions come, has been formed by a world away from God. Now it must be transformed. We've all had a formation. Every single one of us have had a physical formation. Your body is operating the way it is because of some choices you've had or some things that have happened to you. And the same thing has happened with your spiritual formation. And everyone's had a spiritual formation. Hitler had a spiritual formation. It wasn't a very good one. Saints have a spiritual formation. Some of them we know and are blessed to have perhaps interacted with. This is the key, is who we are becoming. Are we becoming like Jesus, and therefore the overflow of our lives and our character will impact for his kingdom, or are we not? And I think that the way that we get to know that and the way that we get to do that is by understanding the makeup of the person. And so I want to talk about that briefly with an image. So if you bear with me, I've got a circle at the center of our image, and in the circle at the center of our image is our will. This is that freedom thing that we have, that we've got, which is the likeness of God, where we get to choose this or that. You get to choose perhaps who you marry or not, or which job you have or not. You get to choose whether you brush your teeth or not. You know, the will is simply your decider, but it's the center of your being, and it's impacted by the things that are wider than that. So the next circle out from your will is your mind. So there's a circle around here, and the mind is what gets described in Romans 12, where it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What you think and what you feel fits into this category. This is a deep part of yourself that's shaped by the ideas that you have about life, or the ideas you have about yourself, or images that you've seen or have been impacted by, or images that you think of when you think of God. That shapes your will. It impacts those things. If I think that, I perhaps could deserve a little bit of sugar, then I'll choose sugar, whether it's good for me or not, and that's what's happening in my mind. We have habits of our mind, what we've learned, what we've shaped. That's why we're so caught up in education and learning, and we know this stuff, that we need to be transformed by the renewing of what we think about. The next circle that's wider than that is our body. That's your little power pack that carries your life. That's the one that you have right now. And this little power pack is also has habits that are good or bad, depending on what you've cultivated or chosen. So again, I have habits where I like taking sugar, and that's not great for me. But if I had a habit that was that anger would fuel in my body, and that perhaps I'd cultivate that in my mind, then that would end up being actioning my will. I'd end up being what we would call an angry person. Jesus invites us to deal with that stuff at a deeper level. That's why when he talks about murder and adultery, he talks about lust and he talks about anger, because those things take place in your mind and in your body. If we can sort out at that level, then your will would never choose to murder someone. It would never choose to commit adultery, because your mind would think that that is anathema to your current marriage, or anathema to the person that you're having adultery with. So that's where we need to do that work. So we've got the will, then we've got the mind, then we've got the body. Then the next circle is your social relations, the friends that you have, the familial relations you have, the people you meet up with regularly, your work colleagues or people in church. Who is around you shapes who you are. We get so caught up sometimes as parents, concerned about who our children are hanging out with. That's because we know that that impacts them, and that has impacted us. Some of us may have had past family relations which have not been good. That shaped your soul. We need healing in that part of our life. Perhaps some of us have had some great relationships. That shaped us or given us great opportunities. The next circle, the biggest circle around the lot, is the soul. The soul isn't just this tiny little part that's a small thing hidden inside of you. It's actually the culmination of all of these things. Your heart, which is your will, the center of your being. The scriptures call it the will or the heart or the spirit. If you're spirited, then that's because you choose things like this regularly, strongly. So that's the will, the heart in the middle. The heart, mind, that's that bit there. The strength, that's your body. Your neighbor as yourself, that's your social relationships. And the whole of your soul. Knowing this enables us to allow the Holy Spirit to come in and to work at each part of our life. I find it helpful if I know when I'm fixing something what's wrong with it, and if I know how to fix it. And I think that knowing what is going on with our soul and the makeup of our soul is so integral to us being transformed into Jesus' likeness for the sake of the kingdom. I hope you have a good time discussing this together, and be kind to yourselves.